All right, so in this video, we are going to specifically be talking about the volume of a sphere, all right, which is just fun to say in general. Sphere, go ahead and try it. Did you try it? All right, so we're going to be talking about a sphere, all right? So I want to tie it all back first to our cylinder. So remember, cylinder, circle, circle, height, all right? Now I can't really move the sphere around because as you can see, again, filled with water. I love this trick. This is the best thing ever. All right, so we learned that a cone fills up 1/3 of a cylinder. So today we're going to be talking about what does a cylinder do and how is it or a sphere, and how is it related to the cylinder? I know, weird, right? I have a circle, I have a sphere. Well, what you have to understand is that a sphere can fit inside of the cylinder. Now, if you notice how I stack, you still have the wings of each corner of the cylinder still showing. So do you think this sphere, this ball of water, is going to fill the cylinder completely up? All right, so let's see what happens. I'm right-handed, so we're going to switch it into the right hand. All right, so we're going to fill up this cylinder. I'm going to line up. We'll flip it over. Whoa. Do you see how much it's filled? Now, there was a little bit of water still left in this cylinder, but I want you to see that there's still a space. So that sphere isn't a full part of a cylinder, but it does fill 2/3. So remember where a cone only filled up 1/3? A sphere fills up 2/3 of this. All right, so our cylinder is the biggest. Do you notice that? Cylinder is the biggest. Then sphere would be the next biggest, and then cone would be the smallest. All right, so let's kind of talk about how these are related and where we get the formula for sphere from. So let's now take a look at the sphere, how it becomes its formula. All right, so the first thing you have to understand is that a cylinder is pi radius squared times height. And as we've already dived into, a cone is 1/3 of that cylinder. Well, a sphere, he fits 2/3 of it. So notice that there is space in the four corners of that cylinder. So that's why the sphere only fits 2/3 of it. Okay? But the catch is, this isn't actually the formula. So we get kind of confused sometimes because when you see the formula, you're going to think it's bigger. But understand that a sphere is only 2/3, right? It does not fill the whole thing. Here's why the formula changes. All right? So if we were to fill in this formula, we have 2/3 pi. Well, a sphere does in fact have a radius. So I would square it. But notice, a sphere doesn't actually have a height. Now you might go, well, Miss Cooley, yeah, it does. It's the same height as the cylinder. Well, you're right. However, we don't call that height. Take a look. All right, if I have the radius and I continue it all the way through, isn't that the height of the sphere? Isn't the height of the sphere 2 radiuses put together? Interesting, right? So instead of height, I could say, well, this is 2 radiuses. All right. Well, as we've learned in math, things get combined together, which is kind of why the formula changes. 2/3 can get multiplied by 2, which gives us then 4/3. Because 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 and 1 is 3. Well, pi can't combine with anything. And radius squared and radius makes radius cubed. So the formula that we are going to be working with is 4/3 pi radius cubed. Weird, right? But the reason why it changed is because instead of a height, we have 2 radiuses. And then we just simplified and combined it together. So understand, although it is 1 1/3, it's 4/3, that does not make it bigger than a cylinder. It just means I eliminated the height and combined it in. Okay, so again, cylinder is the biggest, sphere is second, and cone is third. Okay, so let's go ahead then and see how we find the volume of a sphere. All right, so let's go ahead and jot down some ideas for volume of a sphere. So go ahead and put the heading, volume of a sphere. It's spelled S-P-H-E-R-E. Okay. And so then let's define it just like we have been doing. A sphere is simply a three-dimensional circle. And it's a lot of fun to say, right? So to draw a sphere, you are going to go ahead and draw yourself a circle. Then you draw kind of that half underneath that line. You're going to do a dotted line behind it, right? And as we kind of saw, we are only dealing with one radius, so from the center out. Because instead of saying two radiuses for the height, we combine them together in the formula. So the formula we are going to be working with is 4/3 pi radius cubed. Okay, so pi radius cubed. All right, and we're going to jot down how to do cubed in our calculator. All right, so I have my handy dandy calculator here. To type in that cubed, you are going to be using the caret button. So right above that x squared, we're going to click caret and then 3. So to do that cubed, we are going to use the caret button and then the 3. So understand when we type that in, that's what we're going to be using. All right, so let's find out the volume of the inside. So we're going to use 3.14 for pi for all of these. So we've been working with in terms of pi. Now we're going to use 3.14. All right, so let's go ahead and draw this first one. So again, draw your circle, draw your little line going through, and then go ahead and put your dots through it. And then I have a line that is pointing to 2.1. So my first question is this 2.1 a radius or your diameter? All right, good. It is your radius. All right, so I can go ahead underneath this and say radius equals 2.1. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill in our formula. Volume equals, I'm just going to write it down, 4/3 pi radius cubed. Again, it is cubed. Sphere, cubed. Sphere, it's cubed. Okay, so now we're going to fill it in. So we have 4/3. They told me to use 3.14 for pi, so I'm just changing pi out and putting 3.14 in. My radius is 2.1, and it is cubed. All right, so we're going to take a look how to put this into our calculator. So go ahead and have your handy dandy calculator nearby. All right, so we're going to type in 4, the ABC button, 3, because it's 4/3, times 3.14, because that's what they told me to use, times, now we're going to wrap our radius in parentheses, 2.1, close the parentheses, and we're going to put caret 3. Okay, so all I did is I wrote it and I typed it exactly as I did, and I'm going to push enter, and I get 38.77272. Now, if this terminates in your calculator and they don't tell you to round anywhere, please make sure that you are writing all of the digits. So let's visit this next one. So again, we have our circle. This time the line is going all the way through. Is that a radius or a diameter? This is a diameter. So if my diameter is 7, what does my radius have to be then? Good, I divided it in half and I got 3.5. So again, I divided this in half and got 3.5. So we're going to use the 3.5 in our problem. So again, volume equals 4/3 times 3.14 times 3.5 cubed. Now, if you did not clear your calculator and it still has the last problem in it, you can push the up button to take yourself back in the dialog box and then push the right button since that beginning part is all the same. And you can just change it to say 3.5 and everything else stays the same. Now, if you have to retype it, please go ahead and retype it. So let's go ahead and see what our volume is. Ooh, that one's a really big number. So we're going to put 179.50333333. How do we show repeat again? We put that bar above it. So I'm just going to put the bar above the 3 because that's the only thing on repeat. Right. All right, so let's check out what you can do. All right, so here is your 2 You-Do problems. Give them a go. So we have a sphere that has a radius of 10, and we have a sphere that has the diameter of 3.4, and I want you to go ahead and use 3.14 for pi. Go ahead and try it. So let's see what you got. All right, so if I did 4/3, 3.14 times 10 cubed on my calculator. I'm typing in 10. We're going to delete that. So we get another big number, 4186 point. Now this says 666666667. Well, your calculator thinks it's doing a favor for you by rounding that last digit. Understand that is a repeat of 6s. All right, so this is 6 repeated, or 2/3 if you want to keep it in fraction form. All right, let's go ahead and look at this next one. So we should have 4/3 pi times radius cubed, 3.4 caret 3. All right, and you get 164.5527467. Whoa. So in this one, this might ask you to round. Go ahead and put all the digits. So maybe I say round to the hundredths place. Hundredths place is the second digit. I look at the neighbor. 2 says to stay the same. So it's approximately 164.55. All right. So hopefully this video helped you out in finding the volume of sphere. Keep in mind and always remember what your formula is that you are working with, and make sure you're able to type it into your calculator correctly.